Right. So, welcome back, everyone. This is episode 3 of My Brother's Keeper. And we are here with my actual brother. Why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about you and what it is you do?
Absolutely. Well, first off, hello everyone. My name's Hassan Mohammed. I currently have one main occupation, one minor, I guess I should say. I work in healthcare finance, and my minor or side gig is with Nike.
Shout out to that lifetime discount, though.
Yes, lifetimer for sure, by the grace of God. So, yep. Also, just to add, definitely gotta praise my alma mater, Howard. I'm a true Bison. You feel me? It's in the blood. It's in me. But yeah, that's it. That's all.
Okay. All right. So, as many of you know, we've been doing this My Brother's Keeper series, which again has been inspired by my actual brothers who I feel like we got a good enough relationship where we could talk about mental health and anything that might come up. But this is probably a more direct conversation. So, to get started, why don't you tell me, just like as a young Black man in America, right? Or just navigating school, work, life in general, how do you feel like your mental health has been, so far?
Okay. Um, so far, just in terms of, trying to balance everything out, in between like personal work life or professional life,
Mm-hmm.
social, recreational things like that. Um, Mentally, just more so overwhelmed, you know,
Mm,
like a constant juggle of, what you want to do and what you need to do, you
mm,
know. That's like a constant like contemplation, honestly speaking, like daily thought process that, just tends to not overwhelm all the time, but it definitely is something that is a constant, battle or struggle, I should say. Just trying to find that balance
mm-hmm.
between.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Now, growing up, I don't think that we spoke too much about mental health, but do you feel like you've had an outlet with, family? Of course, you have a twin brother. Is this something that you and him talk about at all? Like where y'all are at
Mm,
mentally?
mm. As funny as it may seem, my twin brother and I don't have as many conversations that are as, personal or intimate. We
Mm-hmm.
get more so on the.
Why do you think that is, though?
Naturally, it was just something that, just as growing up every day, it was like a common understanding. Like, we know what you've been through, we know what
Mm,
you've gone through, but, a misconception, of course, we're young. We're just like, just like, I know you. And, it more so just resulted or I should say transformed into, us not really wanting to express ourselves as often,
mm-hmm.
excuse me. And I would say express isn't like really be vulnerable, open up, even if it's just the slightest bit, it was really even the slightest notion of any sort of emotion. It was like, we looking at each other like, yo, you good? Like, like
Wait, so
tighten
y'all
up,
have ever had like a deep, vulnerable conversation ever?
I would say more so growing up, no. When we like as we got older, it was like we started having more serious conversations, I should
Mm-hmm.
say. I wouldn't so much
Okay.
say it. I wouldn't go so far as to say, more intimate or these, deep, just, very intense like conversations. It's really more so just, surface level, but,
Mm-hmm.
maybe peeling a couple layers back just in terms of introducing that sort of conversation or dialogue. So from that, it was just like, just, I would say just running from as serious as, what do you want to really do? Like what's the next steps?
Mm-hmm.
And just really following up, making sure, things like that are in order. So more so just along the lines of
Like just life stuff, just
life stuff, right?
career.
Like just making sure we're doing the best that we can, or just doing what we should, kind of sort of stuff like that. But again, it's even that it's not as often. As strange as that may sound.
I know it is kind of strange for me because I don't know. I don't know if I just assume that y'all have y'all moments. Not that it's every day. And if anyone knows, you know, our brother, he's very much a clown. Like he's very goofy.
Right.
I don't know if he takes anything seriously.
It's
I mean, we
so
know
hard
that
to get
he
him to
does.
take it serious.
He does take things seriously, but
Right.
everything is, I don't know, from the second you pick up the phone, if he calls, he's very goofy. But
No.
so who do you talk to? Who do you go to then? Like if you really like going through it, who are you calling?
For the longest time, Nafisa, honestly, it was nobody for real. Um, I wasn't even like growing up, I wasn't even calling on God as often as I should have. You know, it was more so just trying to figure out the next step, you
So
know.
you just in your head just figuring it all out on your own.
I'm an overthinker. I don't know, like it's just and that's constant. That's always been a thing with myself, just fighting these battles on my own. And even in a sense of like, you know, when you try to open up with your friends or you
Mm-hmm.
know, that would be the closest bet in terms of me like, yo, like, you know, I'm really going through something. Um, I think my first interaction, like my first real genuine or intimate interaction, I shouldn't say intimate, but more so like, you know, emotionally or mentally like intimate kind of conversations, was just through friends. I mean, just at like an older age, it's just all right, like, you know, like what's going on? You know, I noticed you know, such and such has changed, or you know, I know that you just went through something, or you know, you just had that loss, or X, Y, Z. So it's more so stemmed from like check-ins, which I'm thankful for. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I really have. I mean, I've always had that sort of support system, but just growing up, it was just, you know, not
It's not
many
like
folks
you
going to,
utilize.
right? Yeah, not many folks going to sit there and be like, hey, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how are you feeling right now? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? You know, sometimes it does take that, you know, external uh friendship or relationship for others to really, you know, kind of notice things. And, you know, they point stuff out that I don't even know about myself. So,
That's crazy that you've had like deeper conversations with friends than your twin brother. And not that y'all don't have, again, I
yeah.
know that y'all have like a different connection, right? Y'all have been raised together, y'all feel each other's pain,
Mhm.
y'all pretty much gone through the same thing.
Right.
But I find it interesting, and this is kind of why I really wanted to do you and Hanif together, but you know, his schedule didn't allow. But I think it's really
Right.
interesting that even with y'all being, I mean, y'all are already brothers, and then being twins on top of that, it's like, nah, we kind of don't really get too deep. And not that it's maybe
Mhm.
something like cognizant that you're aware of, it's just the type of relationship you two have developed over time. So do you feel like maybe you've, how do I put this? Like, again, I'm thinking about us growing up, right? Like, do
Right.
you feel like there has ever been a space for you to be vulnerable, like with any family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, First and foremost, like the only person that I ever felt comfortable showing any sort of emotion, like true, like raw emotion to, was our mother.
Mm-hmm.
He was always that just, you know, just naturally, you know, soft
Yeah.
person, so warm. So it's like, it was too comfortable. You know, there's times where I'm just like, you know what? So it might be things that's just boiled up for a little minute,
Mm-hmm.
things bottled up for a while. And then she'll ask that one time, like, you
I was like,
feeling
because
all
mom
right?
be
It's
knowing,
that,
mom be knowing.
right. She'll
She
hit
be
you with
on
the, you
it.
feeling all right?
Mm-hmm.
Son, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow.
Like how you know over
Just
here
that
stressing.
one question, like, you know, a mother does know. I'm not gonna, a
Yeah.
mother knows, but no, yeah, ultimately, yeah,
So do
that
you
was
feel like you
definitely.
had to be like, and this is something that I tend to ask, like as a black man, right, or
Mhm.
whatever that means to you. Do you feel like you have to kind of be tough or like have this facade of not showing any quote unquote weaknesses or vulnerabilities?
I mean, naturally, yes. you know, just on a day to day, just as part as being just a part of being a man is like really just being masculine, or so, society has taught us. But at the same time, the root of a man is more masculine. So, um, definitely misconceptions, you know, preconceived notions, just based off societal interactions. It's
Hmm.
definitely really kind of helped or played a factor in terms of, a man not even, because if you out with your friends and you out and about or whatever, if you just show the slightest sort of emotion, like your friends gonna
Mm.
like your friends was clowning you forever. Like
And they
a
wouldn't
year
stop.
later,
They let up.
right? A year later, they bring it up. Remember that time Haas dropped a tear? Wow, like it's like
That's
it's like
terrible.
no, but it's like it's something like as it is a bit like hysterical or like just off-putting, but I mean it's extremely common, especially among the black men. You know,
Yeah.
um, especially in terms of how we're already being portrayed, plays
Hmm.
into effect as well. But naturally, yeah, that's just it was a natural feeling. But then as I got older, it's more so like, okay, no, I don't need to show any feeling.
Mm.
I don't even know how to.
That's crazy. But I think about some of the things that you and Hanif have been through, right? Like where it would make sense for y'all to be vulnerable. And I'm thinking specifically, like, of course, the topic today is mental health. And this is something that I think everybody struggles with. But you two have both had friends who have committed suicide
Mm.
over the years. And I think that hits people, in different ways. What was that like for you?
That's a great question. Yeah, just losing somebody close to you is already bad enough as it seems
Hmm.
or as it sounds. It's already just a terrible feeling. I feel as though it's like a double whammy when they take their own lives as a
Hmm.
result of something that they've been dealing with, and that ultimately can manifest or fester, I should say, into the next step up, which is now you start blaming yourself because it's like, how could you not notice it? This is like somebody that you hang with every day, like
Mm.
literally every day, and it's like it's so many times, so many chances where I could have just sat there and just say, "Yo, bro, you all right? Like, how you doing today?"
Hmm.
And man, I never did. So, um, when the whole thing happened, God rest his soul, man. It's just, that was really one of those things where kind of it just sparked something in me. Just it turned the light on, turned the switch.
Hmm.
So now it's we're what I think 4 or 5 years later, and I naturally just ask now, like, hey, how
Mm.
you doing today? How you feeling? Even if you're not my closest friend, I'm just gonna check in. So it's
Hmm.
definitely made me more aware. Um, it allowed me to really discover a genuine concern for people's well-being.
Mm.
So, and that just rooted from just tons of time alone. Just being in that darkness was kind of bad, but sometimes just being alone is. I mean, I'm not gonna advocate like, oh, like bottle everything in, but sometimes that isolation can
Hmm.
really service you if used properly, I should
Right.
say. So yeah, no, just talk to myself about it all. And that was just a tough part though. That was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is something that's common, right? Because I mean, if someone, you know, commits suicide and you're close with them and you really had no idea, like you didn't see it coming. And I feel like that was the case for you and Honey. You two both had different friends, right? Like you've had more than
Right.
one friend essentially uh,
Actually.
take their life. And I feel like that can be very traumatizing, especially if you had no clue, because it's like, where did this come from? And I think it could throw people off a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of those things where, you know, you can't really expect what or how to feel. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's one of those things where like when it happens, it's more of an eye opener, a wake up call, you know. And as I got older, that's how I started to view it. Like, you know what, everything does happen for a reason. It's unfortunate that it had to be somebody so close to you.
Mm-hmm.
In those moments, in those darkest moments, you can really find any ounce of light. There's some light in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's, and it took a lot of searching for that reason just to come to terms with it. But
Mm-hmm.
one of those things that can be just easily overlooked. It's so easily overlooked,
Yeah.
especially among Black men.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I think something that you got from it was again just checking in on your people, like, and because granted, not everyone is obligated to tell you what's going on with them. Not everyone is gonna talk about what's going on with them, but you at least give them the opportunity and the platform, like, the space to say if something is going on.
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is, I think, one of maybe the maybe the more traumatic things that you've been through. But now today, do you think that you're able to be more vulnerable than you have been in the past?
Mm. Me personally, I absolutely believe that I'm more comfortable in being vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
expressing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's become one of those things where, as I've like honestly, like I'm not even trying to sugarcoat anything or whatever. Like as I just, got closer to God, it's just
Mm-hmm.
more so one of those things where you start to appreciate yourself more.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, you get more comfortable with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of where it rooted from. And just in a sense of that, it's really like, as you get more comfortable in who you are, you can absolutely express yourself how you would like to. I think it does come to a certain extent. You know, people, we as human beings usually have a, a habit or a tendency of taking things to the extreme. I
Mm-hmm.
believe so. But, if we as a people just focus on taking things, not even just in moderation, but, you know, taking what God gives us,
Mm-hmm.
just, building off of that, I think like more people will allow themselves to be as vulnerable. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a theory.
So, of course, obviously, we grew up Muslim, and I hear you mentioning like how your relationship with God has essentially helped you. How do you think your faith has kind of maybe impacted the way you view mental health or your own mental health? How has your faith kind of impacted this journey for you?
Mm,
You
I
crack
discussed
that.
this. That is a great, that's, yes, the best question, honestly. Because, no, honestly, I think one of the most key components of a successful life is a foundation of faith. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it can be whatever you want to put faith in, but at the same time, here we go, is to this, like just to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it just comes with, just it's really more so like, okay, like faith just really can take you places that knowledge can't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's really just a sense of just how serious, it is, or the level of, or the amount of power that faith has is really just understanding, or yeah, a common understanding of just you like, it's literally walking by faith. Like, let's say, just for instance, like, just I feel as though I was listening to the Final Call radio, and there was just a piece in there where, you know he explained that, or the minister explained that, faith is the absence of knowledge, and knowledge is the absence of faith. to an extent where like, or something as simple as you think it's gonna rain today, or you believe it's gonna rain today. You have
Mm-hmm.
faith that it's gonna rain. You don't know it's gonna rain. You don't have the knowledge that, oh, it's raining or whatever the case is, or it's gonna. That's faith. That's belief. As soon as it starts raining, it's confirmed. Now you
Mm-hmm.
know. You no longer require faith if you have knowledge. So I just feel as though, yeah, knowledge is power, but I think faith is the most important part, where it's like, regardless of any situation or circumstance, if you just believe that you put your best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I've obviously watched you and watched your faith develop over the years. But I feel like, and this is, me being on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
that it took some trials and tribulations for that faith to build to build over the years. It took some whooping of your behind first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He had to put belt to butt really quickly. And yes, absolutely. Something like this level of faith was not just magically given to, I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'm faithful.
Right.
This comes from years of not doing the right thing or not moving the right way. This comes from years of thinking you know it all.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from years of thinking you got it. Got it all figured out. This comes from years of just just ignorance. And yeah, man, just sometimes, not sometimes, but those who are just like deviating, not even just deviating, but just moving in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Adversity comes to everyone, but more than likely, things will fall downhill, and in a sense, when those trials happen, it's meant, to whip you back into shape. It's meant to shake up your life until you can hold on steady with like a solid foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about, perception, how people perceive it, their attitude, their approach to it. No, I think that's a key part. But
Right.
I definitely had to go through a series of, just times of adversity. And even now, you feel me? Well, yeah, you feel me? It's just,
yeah.
Even now, it's just easier to take it. I'm not gonna say that was crazy. I'm like that. Hey, yo, people listening, like, hey, yo, like, no, but it's just, it was easier to deal with, easier to endure and overcome. Not to say that trials don't happen, because I'm still going through trials to this day. It's just things that I've now that are things that are out of my hand. I've now just placed in the hands of the man that I have faith in, and that's God himself.
Absolutely. Love that for you. So what are some things that you do now to kind of take care of your mental health? What are some things that help you? Prayer. We got faith, right? Okay. Prayer. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I don't know where I would be without prayer. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I was just so caught up with prayer. What was the question? That was just like immediately I just thought I just got locked in.
What are some things that you do to kind of take care of your mental health?
I like to preach this as well. Not preach, but I'll tell my friends too, like all the time. They can definitely attest, but it's just, protect your peace. Mm-hmm. That's been a practice that has been recent. That has been a practice that's been recently started. Something that I just started doing. And it's really more so like, yeah, like you got to understand that like you have a certain amount of energy to put towards things that, or just to put towards your life, so you want to focus that energy on things that'll be conducive for your life. Mm-hmm. You want to focus that energy on things that will benefit you, not just for the sake of getting you on the upper hand, but it'll benefit your like morality of it, I should say. Just the ethical part of it. It's like, just do the right thing. But it's like if you just, I feel as though if you protect or are more mindful and careful about where you put your energy towards,
Mm-hmm.
you in a sense protect it. You protect that peace. You protect that energy. So just trying to navigate different situations or scenarios or anything, any sort of circumstances that might take from that, I've become more mindful of it. Um, I would say, of course, prayer again. Um, Honestly, just, I've picked up hobbies. I've searched for hobbies. Um,
Well, you're a gym buff.
yeah. So now, like, that's become like, I've forced myself to get in the gym. Like, I've forced myself to be like, that was a literal drag. But
Mm.
one of the things that just, quick side note, one of the things that I've picked up just along the lines of, getting into a more healthy lifestyle or practice is that, like, it's those days where you don't want to do what you should do.
Mm.
On those days that you really have to do it. And that's
Yeah.
how you build the discipline. It's days you're never gonna want to go to the gym. Especially if you haven't like been in there.
Right. Right.
It's hard to muster that. You can be motivated, but the way you build the discipline is even when you're not motivated, you try to practice, like, you know what? Let me just go in there. Even
Yeah.
if you compromise with yourself momentarily, it's like, you know what, instead of a 4 hour, I'll do 40 minutes. And you consistently, just the consistency part. Wow. Consistency is key for this. Like, just in terms of trying to do anything right, trying to improve any aspect of your life. Consistency is key. It's how you progress. It's how you master it. It's how you discipline yourself. That's how you
Mhm.
condition.
Right.
Just a few outlets in terms of just be mentally healthier. I've started seeing a therapist, that's recent, last few years. A
Love
therapist though,
that.
like, no, yeah, I listen, I love it. It's amazing. Therapists, like, I love them. No, I'm just gonna say that. And
Know what you want to say.
yes. No, but on a serious note though, like, therapists I feel as though for myself, are like, you know, a navigation tool for me, like,
Mhm.
kind of help me just direct a little bit,
Yeah.
not in the sense of like, oh, I'm worshiping therapy or even
Yeah.
the,
No, absolutely.
not in a sense of where it's like, yo, I need this, I can't live without it. But
Yeah.
no, it's a beneficial resource,
Mm-hmm.
those that are trying to become mentally healthier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a quick side note about therapy.
No, no, I appreciate it. And I know you're not being biased because I'm a therapist.
Right. No, facts.
No, but I feel like those are some great tools. I mean, you mentioned therapy. Well, let me say prayer number one, because that's obviously number one for you. Prayer, therapy, working out, exercising, and just being mindful of, like you said, what you're directing your energy to. And I feel like you're also mindful in that a lot of people have to be mindful of the environment they're in, right? Certain environments, certain social settings can kind of bring you down to the people you're around, right? If everybody around you depressed, you more than likely gonna be depressed.
Right.
Um, just trying to be around people who are being productive, who's working on improving themselves. I feel like you more recently have been very mindful of that too.
Yes. A primary or a top way of protecting your peace is protecting your environment,
Mm-hmm.
protect you subject yourself to,
Right.
so definitely, naturally, just along with just sort of just trying to find myself as well, or try to find a better lifestyle, I guess I should say. Just
Mm-hmm.
naturally, I've just gotten the notion of being more mindful, of course, of what I surround myself, or I would say what or who I surround myself with.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you only as strong as your weakest soldier. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, if you got friends that are on the bottom, you just as strong as them. You can try your hardest to pick them up. And people are only going to go as far as they want to go. They're willing, or as far as they're willing to take it. So if you might have those that just have a negative influence, negative energy, negative vibe, and you know it too, but that's your friend, you grew up with them. Naturally, like, you know, you love them, you want to hang around them, cool. You know, that's all. I just feel as though with myself, it was more so, you know, like I just knew that I needed to be around more positive energy if I wanted to outgrow my own, I should say, mental setting, mental and spiritual. If I wanted to be better inside, I definitely could surround myself with better outside. And it's not like, oh, like my friends are just terrible. No, no, no. All my friends are like-minded as well. So it's, you know, it's ultimately how we gravitated towards each other.
Right.
My friends, my circle, they know exactly who they are. Those are some, you know, the most thorough guys. The most thorough guys for sure. And thankful for them all the time. I tell them all the time too. That's something that's become more recent as I've been more vulnerable. I don't care. I tell my best friend right now, like, yo, like, I appreciate you. You know, but
I love that.
Off the strength is just no, definitely environment plays a huge part. Definitely plays a huge part in how you think, you know, how you act, how you move, your mannerisms.
Yeah. Sure. I think that's, you know, wonderful. And I've seen, of course, your interactions with your friends, and I know how y'all move and how y'all talk to each other. And it's definitely a lot of love there. And I think that you all have grown in the way that y'all communicate with each other and kind of open up to each other. It's always done in like a joking, loving way, but y'all, it's like, you know, that you're there for one another. And I feel like that's really important. I do kind of want to circle back to the family dynamic because you know, I know, of course, you said that the person that you could open up the most to is mom, which makes sense because I think let me not say everyone, but at least in our family, I think every mom is the go-to, right? She right. has that mother's intuition where she'll know something is going on before you even say something. And so we've all kind of experienced that, but specifically focusing on the men in our family, right? How do you feel like your relationship with the men in our family has maybe influenced or given you perspective on being vulnerable as a Black male?
My relationship with the men in my family, from my personal experience and perspective, there wasn't a lot of room to be vulnerable. You know, not too many. Like, again, even as somebody as close as Hanif, not even like we never really sat down and had those, you know, deep intellectual conversations or mental or, you know, emotional conversations. And just being vulnerable with each other was not really a thing, let alone, you know, my other brothers, let alone, you know, my father's, it's just uncles, you know, cousins, male cousins. But it hasn't really been, you know, much of an opportunity. Not to say that that was the intent, you know. There was a lot of love in our family, you know it. There's tons of support, and I'm forever grateful. Just in terms of how I perceived, I never really had the chance or opportunity to really express, I guess I should say.
Now, I you know, could see that. Do you feel like that's changed over the years? Like, do you feel that there's more of an opportunity to kind of have those kind of conversations now as you've gotten older?
Absolutely. And with those same men in my life, you know, or in my family, it's become easier to be vulnerable for sure. From dad to siblings, brothers, you know, the cousins, uncles.
Dad be waiting for you to be vulnerable.
I feel like sometimes when I just talk to him, I'll be making his day sometimes. You know?
Of course.
Crazy because I could have been talking to him though, you know. I could have been like, yo, dad, like on a serious note. You know, I remember I have this one memory. I was like probably 10 years old. You know, we was in Will Day, and I remember just asking Dad, like, Dad, how do you fight? Like, how, can you teach me how to fight? What's the stance look like? How are you supposed to do it? And I think that was the most intimate question I've ever asked Dad. I think
Wow.
it was just random, you know, it was just, you know, just naturally inquisitive, just, but that's really been it, you know, it's just, it
Right.
hasn't, like lately now though, you know, definitely, I feel as though they've become more comfortable with even trying to start those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Just with myself getting older, and really just them understanding that, you know, I've had certain experiences where I might, you know, be able to articulate myself or express myself now. I might be able to speak to certain things. So
Yeah.
it definitely has gotten better.
You know, my perspective has been that, like you said, always love in our family, like never a question of any of that. But I don't know. For me, I don't think mental health was really a topic. It wasn't a thing growing up. It wasn't until a certain point, maybe like our teenage years, where things started to shift and mom and dad started to, um, I don't know, I don't know if the word is like get more exposed to mental health, but just it started to become a conversation, I think, in our later years, definitely not our younger years. And granted, I think most people in that generation didn't talk about mental health. Like, you know, our previous generations, mental health, what do you mean mental health? Like you build a bridge, you get over it. You like,
Right.
you know, our ancestors been through X, Y, and Z. You not
Yeah,
do nothing, you know? That was the mentality.
that was. Yep.
But I think that started to shift. And I think that's why, for me, this mini series has been so important on having these kind of conversations, right? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I've interviewed our nephew, Cadence, who's as young as 9, because I don't think it's too early to start to at least build that environment, that space, so that if they need to come and talk to us, or if we need to come and talk to our parents, you know, that space is there. I feel like that's
Absolutely.
really, really important. So before we go, is there anything else that you feel like you might want to add, or any advice you want to give to any young Black
Hmm.
male out there who might be struggling?
Um, of course, I mean, always willing to offer advice. Of course, I'm nobody to really offer advice from, you know, but just based off of experience, um, you know, just listen, it's going to be brighter days, it's going to be darker days, you know. At the end of it all, you know, in the good book, the Holy Quran, it says, with difficulty comes ease. Verily, with difficulty comes ease, you know, and vice versa. So, you know, it might be dark now, but that's the moment, you know, that's when it's that final test, when it's that darkest moment, I feel like just based off my personal experience, it's like
Mhm.
that darkest moment when I was like just ready to throw in the towel. It's like that moment is when you gotta pick your head up and make the strongest step ever. Like, all right,
Mhm.
step, you know, and then at that point it's one step at a time.
Mhm.
Keep putting your best foot forward, one step at a time. Um, I think that would be just my advice to anyone who's listening.
I definitely appreciate it. And I appreciate you being willing to be interviewed in this space.
Right, you got me nervous and everything. Nah, I'm playing. I'm playing.
I
It
told you
was
it's just
honestly
a
a pleasure.
conversation.
Right.
It's
It
just
was
a
honestly
conversation.
a pleasure.
No, so I definitely appreciate you. Who knows? Maybe next time we'll do a siblings one and add Hanif's crazy self in here. But for the time being, I know I can't. But I definitely appreciate you. And
Appreciate you.
I appreciate anyone who may be watching this, who might, you know, the goal is always for somebody to get something out of it. I think the biggest goal is to just start the conversation.
Mm.
Particularly with, I'm focusing on Black men because June is Men's Mental Health Month. Um,
Yes, ma'am.
and we know that men are more likely to seek out help than women. So I think it's really important. And I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and
Thank you.
we'll see you next time on My Brother's Keeper.
Man, thank you, Nafisa, as always.